Action.
Okay. Welcome to Reason and Truth Ministries. We are here this evening and we are going to be embarking upon very familiar passages of Scripture. Psalms 1. And we're all familiar with Psalms 1, right? The book of Psalms. And in our culture, every time we make reference to Scripture, we always relate it to what? What book we are familiar with or to. And what most relevant book are we familiar with in our culture? Either the Most Holy King James, the NIV, all these different translations. There are so many different translations, I have lost count. Hundreds of translations. However, and every time you hear someone is speaking about Hashem's word, what they will always say? What says it? The Bible said it. The Bible said it. Now, when you say the Bible saying something, that means you are saying what the author's intent, or not the intent, what the authors actually meant, what they were saying, to whom they were saying at that particular point in time. Okay, so now, if I'm saying this is what Scripture is saying, now I can't be referring to what? The King James Bible. I can be referring to the Stone's edition of the Tanakh. I can't be referring to the Holtzman. I can't be referring to the King James or the NIV or the New World Translation or any one of these translations. I can't be referring to that because why? They each have a different philosopher. They each have a different premise. They each have a different axe to grind as they approach what? Scripture. They each have their own biases. So now they're approaching Scripture from their own world view or philosophy or ideas. So if I am, let's say, we live in a culture where we are very what? Liberal. So now if I am transgender, I'll have a transgender approach to Scripture. If I am, let's say, with this movement of Black Lives Matters, I will have more a revolutionary approach to Scripture, being very black conscious and very narrow-minded in my approach to Scripture. If I am a Caucasian, I'll be very Eurocentric in that the way I approach Scripture, I'm gonna have this Caucasoid perspective. And the early Scriptures, as we know it today, based upon linguistic communication and the writing, as it was so well guarded by the authorities, what they do and what they did is that they presented the Scriptures as they wanted it to be remembered, and in the manner they wanted it to be viewed, and in the manner and how they wanted the stories to be told. So now when we approach Scripture, we ought to approach Scripture with a clear mind and being led by the Spirit of Christ and going from the what? From the language that Scripture was written in. Not the Greek, not Aramaic. Not the Greek, because I know a lot of people today, they say, well, the Bible was written in Aramaic. Some portion of the Torah, the Tanakh, was written in Aramaic. However, Aramaic was a sister language of that of the Hebraic language. And we know from all the archaeological findings that we have that the Scripture was written in Hebrew. And we know Yeshua said it because he made mention of it in Matthew chapter 5. He said not one yod, nor one tittle. Right? And that's the little decoration. And he wasn't even talking about the vowel point. He was talking about the decoration of the actual letter. Because each letter in themselves, it carries certain decoration. Because some letters carries a crown and what have you. So from that backdrop on how we are and we should approach Scripture. So now when I say this is what scripture says. I must give you that reading in Hebrew, because without the Hebrew, then we can't really approach scripture and know what is actually saying. So now let's go to a very familiar passage of scripture, Psalms 1. And we all are familiar with Psalms 1 because everybody could recite Psalms 1. From the heathen, the Gentile, the Christian, the rabbis, every single person across generation, everybody knows Psalms 1. Blessed is the man, right? Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the ways of sinners, nor sitteth in the seats of scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and therein he meditate what? Day and night. And he shall be like a what? Tree planted by the rivers of waters, that bringeth forth fruit in due season. His leaves shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall what? Prosper. But the ungodly are not so. They're like the shaft in the wind that driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the day of judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the ways of the righteous, but the ways of the ungodly shall perish. And when we hear that portion of scripture, we always think, well, you know, how we know we're righteous, how we know we are even following this path, how we know that which the author of this scripture here that is penned, whether it be attributed to David or some one of these kings, Hezekiah or someone of them, can't remember exactly who they attribute the first Psalms to. However, the authors of the Psalm, whosoever they attribute it to, what are they communicating to the household of faith or the household of Amunah? Because when we say faith, again, it's a very what? Western word that has no meaning or bearing in the foundation of scripture. So now, let's. I'm only attacking 2 verses today, and just to give a word analysis of certain words in the first and second verse, just to show you how important it is by just the use of certain words or the changing of certain words to have a familiarity or clarity in culture to communicate what I want you to think the author is saying. So now I may change certain words to what? To carry about a certain fluidity in what I think the text is saying, or how I think you may understand what the author is saying from what is being written. So the first two verses, verse 1 and verse 2 of first Psalms 1, and I'm reading that from the Strong's edition, the Tanakh, right? Isai ha-eshe Isa lo halak ba Esther Reshaim va derika hatanim lo itzma va ba osev lesim lo yetsav. Verse 2, ki am betorat Yahweh ha fekso chafetso va bet Torah Yahaga Yoma va lehi la. Yoma va lehi la. Right? Yoma is day and night. So now, those words there, as it is as it is stated from the Hebrew. The first word there is Asherah. Asherah, right? And if when those who are looking on the internet and what have you, you can check for reference. And all these words, you can find them in the Strong's Concordance, and you can refer back to the Strong Concordance to see if what I'm teaching is consistent with what Scripture is teaching. Now, the Hebrew is very poetic. And once you see like how the first three words in the opening passage, Esherah, Ha, Esher, Esher, again, the Shah, 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 that's how the Hebrew pun or the Hebrew poetry is. That's how Hebrew is written, because they want to drive home a point. So now, what is literally saying there? In the beginning was so the portion of Scripture, it begins with that word there, as they translated blessed. And what we know blessed to mean, what we say blessed is, what the word blessed mean? Barak, right? Or barakah, right?
Barak.
Right? And barak means to bless, means bless, right? Or barakaka means bless you.
Is it blessed as in present time or past tense?
What?
Because it says blessed.
Right, but the way it is translated here is translated as blessed, past tense, right? And the Holtzman Bible said